been listening to this for the past couple of days, and it legitimately is very, very impressive. Because I'm kind of odd in that I don't really like a lot of the UK rap stuff. I don't know what it is. Maybe because my perspective is way too, on the American side of things. So once you hear the UK side of things, you kind of compare it to the American things that you like, and maybe you think it's not on the same level when it clearly is. But whatever. Maybe it's just a preference. But obviously, two of the people that I kind of look at and I've been fans of since they've come on the scene, more so with the first person Dave, and obviously most recently with Central C, I've kind of like what they've done individually themselves. I've kind of been a fan of what Dave's done project wise, his music wise. In terms of his lyricism is amazing, his videos are always great. He actually performs incredibly well live also, because that's not a given with a lot of these UK rap people and just rappers in general. They're usually not the greatest live performers. But I think this collabo tape, Split Decisions between Dave and Central C, is incredibly smart thing to do. The first thing why it's a smart thing to do, which I didn't realize, was that they're both the same age. And oddly enough, they both have birthdays within a day of each other. I think if one person's birthday is on like the 25th, the other person's birthday is 26. So they're like literally a day apart or something. And they're the same age, which I didn't realize, because Central C hasn't been that famous for a while, but Dave has, and he's been very successful. I just thought he was older. I didn't know these guys are only 25, so their ceiling is fucking insane, and the potential that they have, in the future, if they continue doing what they're doing now, is ridiculous. Especially when you think about them both being independent, like it's wild, right? So in that respect, I think this tape is really good. This EP, because if you're not the biggest fan of Dave, if you're not the biggest fan of Central C, I think this tape of them going back to back on these 4 tracks is the best way to kind of get the best of both worlds. Like, you get to not hear maybe too much Dave or too much Central C, but you get to hear them kind of like split the workload, but also kind of at the same time produce something really special in itself. Like, because this feels like it's been made with some level of like care and attention. This doesn't feel like something that they kind of rushed just because they bumped into each other on tour or in Dubai or something. This is like something they actually did spend some time in the studio crafting and putting together and figuring out who works best on what, who should go where here, who should go for the first verse, who's going to do the chorus, whatever. Like, all those little decisions that they made sonically, in terms of structure, in terms of production, really kind of enhanced the entire listening experience. And I really enjoyed it. My really interesting track that I absolutely love, which I fucking think is absolutely fire, has to be Trojan Horse, even though the other tracks are probably going to be a lot more popular in terms of the clubs and stuff. But when this first couple of bars kicked in from Dave, because Dave has a really good and interesting way. I think it's similar to like Wretch Free too. He's really amazing at like introspective, sort of like taking you there lyrics that kind of put you in a particular mindset and remind you of where you were at a certain place in time. And when it opens up with this verse from Dave, right, these opening lines, legitimately, I had to wheel this up like 2 or 3 times, maybe 5 times in the gym. It starts off with Dave, verse 1. I'm feeling villainous. I couldn't afford them kicks. I had 1 pair and I cleaned them rigorous. Squeezing Junior, I feel like Vinicius. Are you hearing what he's saying here? I'm feeling villainous. I couldn't afford them kicks. I had 1 pair and I cleaned them rigorous. Squeezing Junior, feel like Vinicius. Young G stupid, but they ain't idiots. It's scary. Trap insidious. Yo, I heard those first couple of bars, especially these first opening 2, about couldn't afford them kicks. I had 1 pair and I cleaned them rigorous. They immediately took me back to like secondary school times, where I was like obsessed with sneakers. I still am to a certain extent, but I think back then I would really have called myself a sneakerhead. I had like over 100 pairs. I was buying like pairs every fucking week. Getting stuff sent to my mum's house. She was getting pissed off that I was spending all my money on that shit and not fucking, contributing money to the bills or putting money on the electric key and shit. I was going nuts. I was like, but I was one of those weirdos sneakerheads where I didn't have a lot of clothes, but I had loads of shoes. That was one of the most redacted things I did. Like, I had like 1 pair of jeans, but like 79 pairs of Air Max 1s or some stupidness, right? But one thing I remember when I first got on my flipping journey of being a sneakerhead was that you usually start off with only a couple of shoes, but you care for them and you kind of look after them in a way that's legitimately almost quite sad. The way you look after these shoes, like I would legitimately be wearing them a certain way. I'd be stuffing them with tissue paper before I went to sleep. I'd put them in the freezer sometimes. I'd be using Tipex to clean the soles. I'd be toothbrush cleaning them with maybe dipping the toothbrush in a little bit of a mixture of bleach with some little warm soapy water, like crazy levels to keep these things fresh, so that when it came time to go to like a house, little function, a little house party function, or as the kids call them now, the little motives, you go to a little dance, you go to a little shubs, I was ready to go. Even though, in my head I thought they looked sparkling clean, but most likely they just look like, really old shoes that have been, cleaned very rigorously. So when I heard this bars, it kind of immediately put me in that flipping place. But throughout the entire thing, one thing I also realized was that I kind of prefer Dave's rapping style to a Central C. I found Central C to be a little bit more, how would I say it? I wouldn't say infantile, but it's just not to my taste really how he raps. But I also think Dave is like a perfect conduit. Like weirdly enough, like you would imagine Dave, for how lyrical he is, it would somehow show up Central C's kind of limited, lyrical expertise or whatever, right? Because I think Central C is more like of a vibes man, which is not a bad thing. But actually, they complement each other really well. It doesn't show him up. It just provides Central C a platform to be way more of himself and to kind of show off his kind of strengths. And he kind of really does show up in a really big way on this tape. Like, again, I'm not the biggest Central C fan as an artist, but I really was impressed with his performance on this EP. I legitimately was. So if you are looking for something to listen to and you aren't the biggest fan of UK rap, I legitimately encourage you to check out Trojan Horse, or the full EP, Split Decision by Dave and Central C. It's only 4 tracks, so it's a nice, easy, digestible amount of music to listen to. The cover art is fucking amazing, right? You got this amazing, I forgot what the model of this Ferrari is. Is it F450 or is it a Spider? I forgot what model it is, but I remember having a model version of this as a little toy car back in the day. But I forgot the actual model of it because I'm not a biggest car guy. But this picture is fucking incredible of this crane kind of lifting up this Porsche either off the flipping yacht or into the yacht. It's fucking great. So if you legitimately have your doubts about UK rap, I recommend you check it out. Legitimately check it out. Split Decision by Dave and Central C. I've been playing it since it dropped, and I think this EP is fucking flames. I swear to God. People say in chat it's a F450 or F70. Yeah, it's something along the kind. I think it's the F, because I remember the Spider's usually the one that's got it's kind of got like a hammerhead sort of like shape at the front, if I'm not mistaken, and this probably is a bit of a Spider. But what I do remember about this car is that last time I remember seeing it being sold, because I think not many of them were made, I think a brand new one was going for like $1 million plus or something like that, crazy, which is ridiculous. But it definitely is something that a lot of car collectors would obviously have on their fucking bucket list of cars to kind of purchase, because Jesus Christos. But yeah, check it out. Split Decision by Dave and Central C, out now on all the places that you guys go and check out, music and whatnot.
I'm feeling villainous. I couldn't afford them kicks. I had one pair and I cleaned them rigorous. Squeezed in Junior, I feel like Vinicius. Young G stupid, but they ain't idiots. It's scary, trap insidious. How you expect us to know how to love? I can't teach no one how to hustle. Some man just got it. Back then I got chased by feds. I ran out of breath and I wanted to vomit. I hit that freak, she put me in cuffs. It triggered my trauma, I tell her to stop it. She wanna know if I'm really ballin'. That girl there wanna weigh my wallet.
We ain't doing irrational get backs, creep up clean when they least expect it. Hygiene's poor, look at the floor, there's insects crawling. I could've got sepsis, nasty, still try fuck on my stepsis. Ran through enough of these famous girls, but I still got some on my checklist. Bare gunmen on my guest list. I took bro out the trenches, jump out the Volvo, jump out the Lexus. Active, he ain't got no preference, slapped it. But when in retrospective, I could've been calm and collected, avoided the problem and feed the scene. Too vocal, don't need no beat. I go old school like a V-suit jeans. Who's that with the cargos and Cortez? The back poke out and the waist petite. Got flown out all the way to Greece.